Hello and welcome to the 16th episode of the Ademola Bookmen Podcast with me, Alistair Bond, and my friend, Johnny Coughlin.
Hello.
Yep, we're reading footballers' autobiographies and then we're analysing them. And this week we have Savage by Robbie Fowler. No, by Robbie Savage. Oh.
Yeah, with Savage with an exclamation mark.
Yep, exclamation marks are the order of the day, I think.
Yeah.
There's lots of exclamation marks.
Yeah.
This book got all the exclamation marks that Milner's didn't get. Robbie's not afraid of an exclamation mark, and all power to him. Johnny, before you read this book, what did you think of Robbie Savage?
Prick. I think everybody thought kind of a pantomime kind of prick, though. Not a truly evil prick like Barton, but more of just a kind of a silly, laughable clown prick.
Yeah, that's it. Silly, laughable clown. Yeah, I thought that as well. I think he says he's like Marmite, and you love or you hate him. And I think he's one of those supporting not a top tier team. He's one of those players where you think, oh yeah, it'd be great if he did play for you. And I would have had him. But yeah, I mean, he's an absolute knobhead. And also, I think he sort of encapsulates the dumbing down of like football conversation, right? When he got the 606, oh, that was a bad day. That was a bad day. Savage is doing it. Oh, really? But I got to say, having read the book, I mean, I still think he's a knobhead, but I don't hate him.
Yeah, I think he's arrogant, right? But there's also, he doesn't take himself too seriously in his defense. And maybe that's his saving grace. Now, this is his book, and obviously there's a lot of opportunity to be like that. But yeah, I didn't think it was terrible. I don't think he was terrible.
Yeah, he doesn't take himself seriously at all. I mean, he is self-deprecating all the time. He tells you how awful he is at football, like on every page. I mean, he really does.
And he does make light of his fake teeth and his tan and his hair and all the rest of it. So, and has jibes at himself, like when he brought his wife's passport to the airport by accident. And the woman behind the counter said, if I just shaved, I could have passed for her. Obviously that's a lame enough joke, but...
How we laughed.
Yeah, but to be fair, yeah, he's not the worst. He's not the worst. And this book wasn't the worst. It wasn't great, was it? But it wasn't the worst book.
Well, going back to a self-deprecation, you can only tell me so many times how small your penis is before I believe you. And I do believe you, Robbie. And no, it wasn't the worst book. And this is where I feel a failing in myself. I read, but I am not a literary critic. And I thoroughly enjoyed this, Johnny. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think maybe we've read some fairly dry books, really, and this was just on the goofier end of the spectrum. Like, it was all just silly japes.
Definitely on the goofier end of the spectrum. Absolutely. He says a few times in the book, as you say, he's a Marmite character, but he thinks it's unfair when people judge him without knowing him. So he says, don't judge me until you've met me. Al, having met him via the medium of his book, do you like Robbie Savage now?
A little bit. Yeah, I do. He's all right, isn't he? I think he is all right. But yeah, crikey, he does say that enough, doesn't he? Like, oh, he didn't like me. I'll just ask you, meet me before you...
just meet
me before you judge me. So we've seen you being a dickhead on TV for 20 years. Oh, still, just give me a chance. And if you hate me then, fine. All right. So, we'll see, Robbie. We'll see. If our paths ever cross, I'll judge you properly.
Do you know what I find astonishing is the celebrity element of some of these things. Remember Milner talking about knowing like Gary Barlow and Crouch singing You'll Never Walk Alone at a concert in Germany. And in this case, Robbie Savage being seized upon by Robbie Williams. Robbie Williams sees him in some club in Amsterdam. It's like, what are you doing here, Robbie Savage? It's so unlikely and, frankly ridiculous, but that's the way he put it.
Well, I mean, they're just very, very alike, aren't they? They occupied the same period of time. I think they probably got about the same level of celebrity now. Like, in all fairness, if it was a teenager, who'd they know more, Robbie Savage or Robbie Williams? I mean, what does Robbie Williams do now? Nothing. Nothing at all. Since in his underpants, it was on a Netflix documentary. Did you see that? Dear God.
Okay, all right. So here's some. He says that he has the record for most bookings in one season, which was how many?
15.
Correct. Himself and Mark Hughes. Who has the most bookings in the history of the Premier League?
Cumulative.
Yes.
All right, I think I know this. I think it's that boring bugger whose name I never remember. English midfielder, did nothing, sideways, a million performances. Yeah, his name will escape you. Played for Brighton, played for Villa, didn't he? But what's his name, Johnny? What's his name?
Gareth Barry?
Yeah, it's Gareth Barry. I never can remember his fucking name. Yeah, I did know that, but that's just not because he was dirty. He just accumulated them over what?
He played the most amount of
8,000 games.
Yeah, 634 or something it was. We learned that. No, 652 maybe. We learned that during the Milner book.
Great stuff.
Do you like cars, Al?
Not really. But do you know someone that does, Johnny?
My God. Do you know what's a funny expression? And it's not the first time we've heard it. Maybe we heard it from Zlatan. I have a passion for cars. It's a passion. No, like Arsene Wenger with his passion for football, but Robbie Savage has a passion for cars. Don't you just mean you have loads of money?
I think that's what it is.
Yes.
It's like when you say, I love watches. I really love watches.
I have a passion for watches.
Just speaking of Ibra very quickly, did you notice the moment where they nearly collided? No, I just on second reading, Johnny, I noticed that when his contract was up at Crewe and before he went to Leicester, who came in for him? Malmo.
Yeah.
In the late 90s. It could have happened, those two together.
Yeah.
That would have been lovely. Look at them with their cars.
And their big noses.
Yeah. Big noses, big cars, long hair.
Yeah,
that's where the similarities end, sadly.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other question. There's a moment towards the end of the book when he's at Derby and he mentions a backroom staff member of Nigel Clough's. And he says, incidentally, this guy, I think his name was Martin Thompson, is the only person I know who can drink 40 pints. 40 pints? Do you think that could be possible?
I think 40 pints, no. Surely not.
40?
I mean, I used to be, 10 pints on a Saturday night, I'd give it that. But actually, 10 pints is really, really a lot of beer, isn't it? Like, it's a lot.
It's absolutely insane. All right, so let's talk about Robbie Savage. One of the things I suppose that people know about Robbie Savage is that he was a member of the class of 92. And he really puts a lot of emphasis on that at the start of the book. But something I didn't know was that when he was during these United days, he was a striker, which is hard to believe, really, isn't it?
Yeah, he was a striker. Also, just talking to people who didn't expect to be strikers, Man United youth played Spurs youth in the FA Cup, and they played against Sol Campbell, and he was also a striker.
Oh, yeah.
Man, there are a lot of strikers around in those days.
Yeah.
He was born in Wales.
Sorry, just to stop you out. You know, like Ryan Giggs writes the preface to the book, and it's one of those things. Robbie Savage is rarely late. One of those kind of things. Like, it really just doesn't say anything about him whatsoever. Can you, like, if you're in a shop in 2011, this book comes out, and you're like, Robbie Savage book. Oh, preface by Ryan Giggs, definitely. Is that what's the kind of logic in there?
Yeah, reading these autobiographies, it really does show you that, it's only 13 years ago this book was written, but time moves fast, doesn't it? It does move fast. Like back then, an endorsement from Ryan Giggs was a real endorsement. Like nowadays, would you like me to write a preface to your book? No, thanks, Ryan. Thank you, but no, it's all right. I've got someone else lined up. Anyone? I think my brother's going to do it. It'll be fine.
Yeah, anyway, okay. Like nothing particularly interesting about his childhood. As you say, he's from Wales, and he spares us those details.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean,
Loves his nan.
loves his nan, who opened the Broughton Summer Fair 1999 and as billed as Robbie Savage's grandma. So that must have been a thrilling moment for her.
And for the people of Broughton as well.
I went to a school fair in the 80s and the guest of honor was Timmy Mallett's auntie. Timmy Mallett was meant to be there, but he couldn't. So his auntie represented him. And I was just as thrilled. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions very quickly.
Go on.
Claire Colley. Do you remember her? She popped up in his childhood.
Claire Colley.
Yeah, Claire Colley. He names her first and second name. Yeah, he was playing with sticks when he was 4 years old, and he told her, "Your dick's bigger than mine." Why? Why does that get in? And why does Claire Colley get name checked? It was apparently when he was 5 years old.
There is arrogance there, isn't there? Like some of the things that he says, like he's always talking about fans singing, "We love you, Robbie Savage," that kind of thing. He talks.
Oh, I mean, some of the later chapters get a bit Trump speechy. I mean, like genuinely, like everyone there loved me.
Yeah, the crowd is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like
it was Bobby Gould was the man who set the train in midfield. When he was at Crewe, he got called up to Wales under-21, and Bobby Gould was the coach of Wales, the much maligned Bobby Gould. And he was watching the under-21s, and he said to the under-21 coach, "Try that young lad there in midfield." And then it went so well that when he went back to Crewe just said, "Yeah, you're a midfielder now," and he was a midfielder forevermore.
Yeah, he's got a fair amount of time for Bobby Gould, more than Neville Southall did, that's for sure.
Yeah, the stuff about Ferguson I thought was interesting enough.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, there's a good deal about his initiation rites at United, all of which sound very harrowing. He had to perform lovemaking with a mop on a massage table, much to the amusement of everyone. Apparently on the same massage table, you used to have to hang your head backwards whilst people got 3 shots at you with a football. That sounds not great, does it?
Like
you ever had like an initiation ceremony like this, Johnny, in your life? Have you ever?
No, I haven't. I haven't been like good enough at sports or anything, so no. To think of like that guy Füllkrug, the German striker who broke a player's hand, a spectator's hand with the ball the other day.
Yeah.
So imagine you're putting your head off this table and like fellows of that kind of caliber are pelting balls at it. Crikey.
Yeah, old Bex. He's got lovely. He's been practicing. You know, he's been practicing. He's been out there practicing an extra 40 minutes booting the ball at Robbie Savage's hooter.
And sorry, let me reciprocate the question. Have you been subject to any initiation rites?
No, I've not. Johnny.
The unblinking eye.
No, I was trying to think. I don't think so. You kind of take things as they come when you're a kid, like, and you probably forget them. But no, I don't think so. Nothing that scarred me.
And Robbie took things as they came. He was fine with all of these hijinks. Didn't seem to be a problem for him.
Well, absolutely fucking loved it. And again, it's one of those, It worked for him, and I'm sure it did. I bet it didn't work for some other people. And there's probably some decent footballers you lost along the way, right? Just like, what was training like today? Yeah, David Beckham lined up and kicked balls at my face. Oh, I don't like it anymore. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Other careers are available.
At some point, we should do Gillespie's book, because like even in this, so he ruined with Gillespie at United, and Gillespie, even as a teenager, was just an inveterate gambler. It's crazy.
Yeah. He used to. The older players made him put bets on for them, and there was one time where he just pocketed the cash, didn't put the bet on, and then the horse won. Off down the bank machine to get your $4,000 out to pay the players. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. This book could have been called A Brief History of 7 Car Crashes. This guy is forever crashing cars, and they kind of seem to, punctuate moments in his life. It would have been a good literary device. What was the name
Well,
of
that's
the?
certainly how it started the book, wasn't it? It was like, oh, I've just been released by Man U and now I've just totaled my car. Like, I'm at my
Yeah,
lowest ebb. Unfortunately for Robbie Savage, that was his lowest ebb.
yeah. So Fergie, just to go on the Fergie thing, he let Savage go, and Savage thought he was going to get a contract. He got a contract for a year, but then at United, and then he was let go. And Fergie called him Robert. He said, "Robert, you will come back to haunt me." And then he said he lived beside him subsequently when he played for Blackburn. But Fergie ignored him the whole time they were living next door. And the only time he ever spoke to him afterwards was Savage came to the changing rooms when they were playing, when he was playing against United, and asked for Beckham to sign his shirt. And Fergie said, no.
And that was it. No, that story gets in 3 times into the book. 3 times. He didn't like it. He was degraded by it. Like, yeah, which is strong words.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fergie's a miserable sod, though, isn't he? Isn't he a miserable sod?
And then he was back to Crewe. He was at Crewe before United, and then United came calling, and he was like, I'm out of here, Crewe. And fair enough, understandable. And I think as a schoolboy, you can essentially leave if you want. And then Dario O'Grady took him on, and it seems like Dario O'Grady hated his guts as a result of him abandoning Crewe. By the way, on a tangential point, did you see the main DJ from Dario G died last week?
Did he?
Yes.
That was some story, wasn't it? I didn't know, but Dario G was named after Dario O'Grady, but I didn't know that in the 90s.
Is that actually true?
Yeah.
Oh,
he really is. He's from that part of the world. He named himself after Dario O'Grady. Yeah, genuinely true.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's
no,
brilliant.
he is. He's like some bloke with a normal name, like
Paul Spencer is his name.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it was a crew. It was a Dario O'Grady thing. Although,
brilliant.
of course, Dario O'Grady is now, as I say, 13 years is a long time in football, and he's been disgraced, right? Now, right. Well, I did some amateur sleuthing here.
This was he was involved with that Barry Bennell guy. That was Crewe, wasn't it?
Barry Bennell. Barry Bennell. Now, there's a bit here where Robbie Savage is spotted by someone called Barry Burnell, a youth academy guy at Crewe. Burnell, Burnell. And I was like, oh, hello. So I was Googling him, but it was Barry Bennell, who's the guy who's currently in prison. So I really can't tell. Did they have 2 guys called Barry, one called Burnell, or one called Bennell? And that Robbie Savage got his name? I don't know what happened there, but I was all ready to go, oh, isn't this interesting? But I don't know. But if you were a youth scout in the late 90s for Crewe and your name was Barry Burnell and you weren't Barry Bennell, that's unfortunate for you, lad. That really is very unfortunate for you.
That is unfortunate. Yeah.
Have you met my mate from Gloucester? His name's Fred Wast and his wife Rose Wast. No connection. They're just got almost precisely the same name and do precisely the same job. Anyway, so I cannot now confirm whether he was actually spotted by a pedo or not.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think somewhere at the back of my mind, I knew that was connected to Crewe, but I didn't put that together. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think Dario O'Grady has in fact been like he was complicit, not maybe guilty, but hid stuff like. So yeah, his name is
like Catholic Church kind of stuff.
Yeah, so unfortunate for him there. Anyway, so yeah, and it sounds like Dario O'Grady really does hate him for leaving Crewe.
Yeah, and held it against him and was kind of just a bit of
he held it against him for leaving to go to United. And then when his contract ran out the second time, for leaving to go to Leicester. Yeah.
So he was
you couldn't blame him.
Yeah, and he was obviously performing extremely well that Leicester came calling, but when they got to a playoff final, he benched him. So he really did he had it in for. And like you said, he was burnt by Ferguson. And he was burnt by Dario G as well.
We're all burnt by Dario G, yeah. Anyway, Can I just go back a bit to being in the United youth team? I just got a couple of funny stories.
Of course.
All right, I've got another question for you, Johnny. All the youth team used sunbeds at Manchester United, apart from two players. Which two players did not use sunbeds?
All Scholes,
Correct?
Gary Neville.
Right, see, of course I didn't. Of course I fucking didn't. And also the other one, going back to Keith Gillespie, was a very weird, the Keith Gillespie nudging story. He says like, oh, Keith Gillespie was ever so quiet, ever such a nice lad, but he'd nudge you. He'd always nudge you. He'd be nudging you all the time, and people hated it. And then one day he nudged Nicky Butt in the shower, and Nicky Butt punched him in the face. And Keith Gillespie cried for an hour. What do you mean he fucking nudged him? What does that mean, nudge? Oh, he'd always be nudging. Nudge, nudge.
There's a video of Phil Neville and Paul Scholes on that Sav and Fletch show. Savage makes a joke about Scholes' height, and Scholes just goes, "No bad." He just mumbles "no bad" to himself, No bad. Anyway, do you think, by the way, just going back to this thing about him playing in midfield, when you think of, we'll say, maybe Nicky Butt's not a terrible example, or someone like Fletcher, do you think that because Savage rues the fact that nobody tried him in midfield earlier. He was slow. He didn't have any tricks to him. He wasn't particularly strong. So he acknowledged it was a bit odd that he was playing as a striker. And his kind of, the thing that set him apart as a player, in his eyes at least, was his ability to run all day, to win the ball, to go in and to be hard, to put in a decent tackle and all the rest of it. Do you think if he was tried as a midfielder, do you think that he could have been kept on at United and done a job for United at different times?
Yeah, I wondered that. I don't think so. I think he sort of had to play himself into a career. Does that sound right? Starting the Championship, he'd been thrown in at United.
But if you look at players like, we say, Jesse Lingard is a recent one, or like even people who did really, really well, like John O'Shea and Wes Brown. But then when they moved on from United, most of them didn't really have careers of any kind of particular merit,
No, you're quite right.
Even players like Tom Cleverley got 3 or 4 years out of United, He's broken.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing with someone like Savage is he's useful, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
You can use him. I mean, even if he's not playing well, he's going to run around and get in the way. And sometimes that's enough.
Like Nicky Butt, was he any good, really?
I mean, there you are. Did I ever see Nicky Butt be good? Not really. Was I told Nicky Butt was good? Yes, a lot. But yeah, was it? Yeah, I mean, that's it. I kind of agree with you, maybe.
Like he's just fortunate in that he came of age during this particular batch of players. But if it was any other time, would people be remember when Nicky Butt broke into the team? I think he just have been whatever, just a guy that made a decent career at United. But I don't think he was amazing ever, Nicky Butt.
No, I think you're probably right there, Johnny. I mean, certainly when he left United, his career just trickled away to nothing, right?
Well, he was playing with Robbie Savage.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And maybe not even the better of the two.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. But on the crew thing, what a bunch of players they had. Danny Murphy and Neil Lennon.
Dele Ademola, he played for Forest.
Yeah, of course.
Big lad, not terrible.
But then they went off. He went to play for the quote-unquote legendary Martin O'Neill. And he loves Martin O'Neill.
Yeah, he does love Martin O'Neill. And with some justification. I mean, I do. That's what I feel with him. I mean, if he'd gone to the wrong team at that point, maybe we never would have heard of Robbie Savage.
Yeah, he seems like a manager who will kind of challenge him, I suppose. And Martin O'Neill it's like a curmudgeon-y old uncle or something, isn't he?
Yeah, he does come across more curmudgeonly than I perhaps expected him to.
But that's because he's kind of slight. You expect him to be nice. But it sounds like he's a bit of a bastard.
A bit of a bastard, yes.
Crew offered him £220 a week, but he signed for Leicester for $3,000. Yes, please. Dario Grady.
£50,000 signing on fee.
Dario Grady shaking his fist. How dare you?
And do you remember what he did with his 150 grand signing on fee?
Oh yeah, he bought a car and they crashed it.
Yeah, he asked. Yes, yeah. He bought a pink Porsche,
He
though. A
bought a
pink
big
Porsche.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's it. Pink Porsche. He wanted to turn up first day of training, everyone to get a good look at him. I mean, it's bold, isn't it? It's bold. Who's this new player we signed? Oh, I think he's turned. Oh, he's got a pink Porsche.
I thought this was when he met his wife. He gave her a lock of his hair.
Yeah, because he thought he was going off to Sweden to play. But I mean, you've done that for a girl, though, right, Johnny?
Of course. Yeah, he played. Oh yeah, so he went to Leicester then, and it was all great at Leicester. Like I think he probably tells us every time he won a Man of the Match award. I tell you what gets old or kind of obsolete is reading in detail about matches that Blackburn played 15 years ago or 20 years ago.
Yes. Yeah, it's not very interesting.
No, it's not very interesting.
And I tell you what, I mean, and you get a detailed match report of every time Robbie Savage has played Aston Villa, every single time.
Did you know about this obsession with Aston Villa? Does
No.
Aston Villa know about Robbie Savage's beef with them?
No, I don't think they do. I think this is all in. I just feel like they're a bigger club than he's ever played for.
Yeah.
And he probably doesn't have a very good record against a really big club.
Yeah.
So in his mind, Aston Villa, and obviously like Birmingham City's direct opponents, but yeah, he's very proud of his record against Villa. And the thing is, he shouldn't be, because it's not perfect. Like he was like, oh, when I was with Leicester and Birmingham, unbeaten against Villa. Like, but what about in your career? No, I've lost to Villa. But just with two teams, he was unbeaten against one particular team. And he mentions that a lot. We hear about Villa a lot. I guess he's got loads of stick from them over the years. But what fucking group of fans have not given Robbie Savage stick over the years?
Yeah. And another thing that is not very interesting because they weren't any good is anything to do with Wales.
Yes. Yeah, okay, let's do Wales now, right? So basically Wales never did anything whilst he was playing for them. They came close once, and that was that. And
when you look at it, they like maybe we talked about this before, but they had good players. Like if they were playing now, they'd get into competitions, wouldn't they? Because there's more qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Giggs, speed, like even people like Saunders. I guess Rush was earlier, but
Mark Hughes.
The most interesting thing about the Wales stuff was kind of when it came to an end. Like he's mad about Mark Hughes. He says Mark Hughes is the person he loves most in football because he was his manager at Wales. And he was his manager. He signed him then when Hughes signed him when he became the manager of Blackburn. And then Hughes kind of professionalized the whole Wales setup. But John Toshak spent his whole time complaining in the media about Hughes and Wales, even though it's the closest they ever got. I think they won their first 4 qualifiers for 2004, but it kind of petered out and they didn't make it. They lost by a whisker. Toshak was there on the sidelines complaining, and Hughes moved on. And who replaced Mark Hughes?
JT.
Yeah.
Big man, Toshak.
Yeah. And then I think Savage had been kind of biting back at Toshak in the media. And then when Toshak was appointed, he kind of froze Savage out, and Savage made it easy for him by saying, I'll retire, which was just a dumb thing to do. And he rules the day.
Yeah, one of the number of dumb things that he did, but yeah, that's it. He really did. No, he really did. He just made it absolutely simple. Fine, you leave me out, I'll retire. Then my job is done. I mean, if only every employee. Oh, I've got to go and sack someone at work today. I'm afraid I'm going to sack you. No, I quit. All right, okay, brilliant. Okay, great. We're all on the same page. It's wonderful. Like, yeah. Dumb. What does he think he's going to get out of that? Like, go to the papers. I quit Wales. Why, you fucking traitor? Oh, no, not because I'm a traitor, because I got left out. Well, when you've told us you got left out. Yeah, that was... Just didn't think it through, did you, lad?
Yeah. He won the League Cup when he was at Leicester. That was, I guess, the highlight.
Yeah, and again, this is telling, isn't it? Because I thought this, because he's like, oh, what a day it was. And he's like, I won the League Cup. I can only imagine what an FA Cup final is like. To not be on that very top tier, eh? I mean, I know it's a cliche, but 90% of footballers go throughout their whole career and never win anything, right? 95%.
But the perks aren't just perks without trophies. Robbie Savage got to turn on the Christmas lights with the actor who plays Roy Cropper from Coronation Street, who he doesn't actually name. He doesn't bother to name the actor. The guy who plays.
His name too. It's Roy Cropper.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the simple one. They always used to call him a dummy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. It's been a while, Johnny.
Yeah. So Martin O'Neill leaves for Celtic and he takes some of the team with him. And Peter Taylor came in, who's a decidedly less fierce individual. And it kind of just petered out. But there was some fun Dennis Wise banter. I think Dennis, as we read these books, there's certain people that are recurring characters. And Dennis Wise is one. And one thing I'll say about Savage is he likes a lot of people. He has a big falling out with Dennis Wise, but he still says he likes him. And I think he might be in the minority there as a person who likes Dennis Wise.
Yeah, I think it's probably true.
So Dennis Wise, they were having a Christmas party and they cancelled Secret Santa. He didn't offer an explanation for the cancellation of Secret Santa. But anyway, Dennis Wise got up on the stage of Undecided nightclub in Leicester. And he unveiled a vibrator decked out in Leicester gear with the number 8 and a blonde wig. And then Robbie Savage thought that was out of order. That's the expression, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he saw a chocolate cake nearby and smeared it all over his face and said, "That's what you look like when you come out of the manager's office," because Dennis Wise was the teacher's pet. And then they never spoke again, like literally never spoke again for the rest of their lives.
Well, it's cruel and cutting commentary, Johnny. You don't come back from something like that. A bit of chocolate cake smeared on your face. The humiliation for Dennis Wise must have been overwhelming.
When the other Toshak thing, I forgot, was Hughes had appointed like a nutritionist who's one of Robbie's best friends in football. Quags, I think was his name.
Yeah.
And then Toshak came in and they changed everything. And it was back to kind of old-fashioned style stuff. And Robbie looked at Giggsy. Giggsy looked at Robbie. "Where's the gravy?" "There's no gravy." And Robbie went under the table saying, "Where's my gravy? I'm looking for my gravy. Is there any veg down here?" And that was really what
crossed the line, didn't it, Johnny? That crossed the line.
Well, it was out of order.
It was totally out of order. Yeah, that was he's really proud of that and thinks it's a really funny thing to do. Like that was. I mean, maybe his mum kept his veggie gravy underneath the table, and that was a normal place to look for it. Yeah, that was a weird one, wasn't it? It really was. Just like, but that was enough to annoy. I mean, I can imagine Toshak was annoyed.
Yeah.
By someone acting like a dickhead. I don't think he was like stung by the criticism though. Like, maybe he's right. Maybe I should provide gravy if Robbie Savage is having to look underneath a table for vegetables. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, that was it's a weird one. Toshak doesn't sound very nice though, does he? He just sounds a bit.
Yeah, he signs everything Toshak won, and Savage said, "What's the one for?" "One European Cup," but he didn't play in the final. Oh, a nice bit of shade there from Robbie. Robbie doesn't forget.
On you, Toshak. He had to check with his dad that one as well, didn't he? I'm not sure off the top of my head if you were in one of those final teams, but my dad can confirm. No, Dad does confirm you did not play, John Toshak, you dick.
This is the second book in a row where a certain referee, Graham Poll, comes in for quite stinging criticism.
The thing from Tring.
So Robbie Savage was fined 2 weeks' wages for taking a dump in the referee's toilet, which you're not allowed to do apparently. But of course, Graham Poll had to report him for that to become an issue. Didn't wash his hands either.
Yeah. Again, that was a detail which could have been omitted, but decided to leave it in. Well,
I tell you another thing that's in a lot of, like, you could calculate exactly how much money he made in his career from this book. He tells you the details of every single contract.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. He signed for $3,000 when he first signed for Leicester.
Yeah.
And that shoots up to about 20 grand by the time he leaves, right?
Yeah, and it's 20 there all the way through, like 2025. There was one contract he said went up. He said 1,000. It was a contract maybe at Birmingham or even Blackburn. It was a 4-year contract, and his contract would go up £1,000 every week in the last year of the contract.
Yeah, I read that. That's a fun contract, isn't it? That would be super fun. I would love something like that. It's not just your own little accumulator, like, oh, what's it going to be today? Oh, boom, look at that. Yeah, very nice. Well, that's it. It's easy to see how much you can lose track of football. He was saying on his first season at Leicester, he was looking at his pay slip and he's like, 60 grand? What's that for? And they're like, that's your bonus for finishing 10th. And he's like, that's nice, isn't it? That's nice.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So he did that. In fact, he took a pay cut at Derby so he could extend his career. So he was on 24, but they offered him 21 and he could get an extra year on his contract. So he took it because he loved being a footballer.
Yes.
Yeah, and he also says he spent $500,000 on cars.
Which, to be honest, when he talks, like, I actually have it written here. Bruce signed him for Birmingham, which is around this time in the book. So Leicester got relegated and he went to Birmingham. He said that, this was funny, by the way. He said under Martin O'Neill, people weren't playing for money. And then when Peter Taylor came in, who he said was a nice fella and he got on with everyone, but they had more money and they were bringing in their own kind of player, this kind of thing. And he says that players came in, were on bigger contracts. And as the team got worse, the car park got more impressive. There were Ferraris and Bentleys and this kind of thing. But he was driving a Ferrari at the time.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, he's one of those, isn't he? When he signed for Derby on their classic 11-point season, he turned up in a fucking Bentley. Yeah, he's a dickhead. He's a dickhead. But
sorry, just on the cars thing. He signs for Birmingham for 1.7 million, going up to 2.5, depending on appearances. And this is what he says. He was driving a Ferrari at this stage, having wanted to buy Steve Bruce, who signed him for Birmingham. He wanted to buy his Golf when he was at United. And Leicester Savage had, this is a quote, 3 Porsches, a red, a blue, and a yellow Ferrari, 3 Mercs, and a BMW. Then he went to Birmingham. When he went to Birmingham, he was in his yellow Ferrari. Then he had, another quote, a yellow Lamborghini, 2 Bentleys, 4 Range Rovers, and an Aston Martin. At Blackburn, I bought a Hummer, another Range Rover, another Lambo, by the way, a white Ferrari, and a Merc 320. Then there were 3 more Mercs, a white Lambo soft top, and a white Lambo hard top at Derby. Like, 500,000?
Yeah, you're right. When you count all that up, that's...
Is he buying like 10-year-old cars or something?
Well, maybe he's doing the maths with, like, he sold one car and then
okay.
The next,
he did say he lost $500,000 on. But if you buy a Ferrari and sell a new Ferrari and sell it, presumably it goes down like by half or something. Anyway, whatever. Who fucking cares? But he says the Birmingham fans didn't want him, but then they, again, to use his expression, idolize him, and another quote, fell in love with him. Yeah, he doesn't lack arrogance. And maybe that's it. If loads of people hate you, it probably helps to have a kind of a slightly insane view of yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Because they fell in love with him. They certainly don't love him now, though, do they? Either, he calls them blue noses. He's pretty disparaging of them because he gets booed every time he goes there. Greedy bastard.
Yeah.
I think maybe, you're quite right. He overestimates the love they had for him a little bit. And I tell you what, those Player of the Year awards, they're his World Cups, aren't they, Johnny? They're his World Cups. He talks about that. Oh, Leicester supporters Player of the Year. What a magnificent honour that was. There was one towards the end. This was my favourite. So Derby, where it goes horribly, horribly wrong. So sad. I enjoyed that chapter. But at the end of the season, despite all the trauma he's been through and like the ups and downs, he was voted the Ilkeston Town Supporters Club Derby Player of the Year, and he's like, that was my best honour. That was my best one. The Ilkeston Town Supporters Club. That could be like 4 people, Robin. You could have infiltrated that group and like got someone to win it for. Fair play to you, lad. That's it. Everyone else hates you, but I tell you what, the Ilkeston Town Derby Supporters Club, they love you, lad. They love you, so you can feel good. Other people will love him. We should just touch on his wife. Yeah. Very quickly. They talk about their courting. He turned up with his mates. It was Nutty, aka Egg on Legs, aka the only man who sucks steak, because he's only got 3 teeth apparently. His friends really get it in the neck. But Nutty pulled up in front of his bride-to-be's house, honked his horn 6 times. Father of the delightful lady opens the door, looks disgusted. Of course he does. Also, his wife, she's spent a lot of time with his friends, right? Because if there's ever anything difficult, it's like, I just sent my mate over to sit with the wife. She's like, I'm not happy really with how things are going. Don't worry, I'm going to send my 3-tooth friend over to sit in the room with you. Happy now? I guess. He bought the most burgled house in England and sent his mate round to sit with his wife. It sounds miserable.
Yeah, we can move on. Birmingham, like I say, I think because the book is 13 years old and because he didn't play in like the World Cup final or anything like that, there is a lot of, like I say, detail of particular games. So while reading it, I didn't find it tedious necessarily, but it's not memorable, any of it, right? Because none of the games the only one that's memorable, the only game that's memorable is when
Let me stop you. Enkelman, yeah, exactly. That's the only one. Of course, remember that one. Wanker sign in his face, like very regrettable.
Yeah, when Enkelman let the ball under his foot. I watched it again. That was a horror show.
Oh, it was, and with that crowd behind you, though. Oh, it really, I felt for that lad there, and then fucking arsehole runs on the pitch and just does a wanker in your face. Some fucking, it must have stung. I bet he still thinks about it now. I bet he still does, I bet it's one of those moments you think, just get those shivers and you're like, oh, do you remember that 25 years ago?
Well, what do you think of when you think of Peter Enkelman? In the same way, what do you think of when you think of David Dunn?
Yeah, and he never mentions that. I was sure he was going to mention David Dunn trying to do his little Rabona, right?
Rabona, yeah, that's right.
And falling over.
Yeah,
and Brucey laughing at him.
So it's, like those things, they're remembered for, right?
He speaks very highly of David Dunn. He also speaks...
Go ahead.
What, are you going to say Christophe Dugarry?
Well, yes, but before that...
had an enormous impact on the club, second only to me. I like that line. That actually made me laugh out loud.
Yeah, he said Dugarry was lazy as sin, but had a great impact, scored a lot of goals, and they'd say, okay, you have to run this whatever thing. He said whatever distance, and everyone was coming in around 11 minutes, and Dugarry would come sauntering in at 25 minutes. What are you doing, Christophe? I won the World Cup. It's not bad, is it?
Not bad at all.
He loves Darren Eadie. That was a blast from the past. He had a joint stag with Darren Eadie and pretended to kiss Darren Eadie's brother in order to avoid being robbed.
Oh yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? Yeah, that went past me
in order to avoid being robbed by some bunch of Spanish guys. He was wearing a £40,000 watch. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that'll teach you, won't it? Big watch enthusiast as well.
I totally forgot that Blackburn were still a kind of reasonable force to be reckoned with in the early 2000s. Remember Morten Gamst Pedersen? He was good for a flicker of time.
I went to Oslo in 2010 and his picture was everywhere. It was Morten Gamst Pedersen.
Doesn't like Craig Bellamy.
No, Craig Bellamy sounded like he was a bit of a fucking arsehole, didn't he? Frankly. To Robbie Savage, it's all laughing games, but Morten Gamst Pedersen apparently couldn't play well as long as Craig Bellamy was at the club. I mean, that's just not good, is it? Going to a workplace, it's oh, that guy fucking hates me. It's going to make me miserable all day long. It's all part of a crack, isn't it? Oh, God.
Have sex with that mop, Martin Gams medicine.
And it's one of those, like, it's like, like your parents are telling, oh, if there's a bully, stand up to him. Oh, yeah, all right, I'm going to stand up to Craig Bellamy and he's going to come into my room when I'm asleep and fucking leather me with a golf club. No thanks. There's no standing up to that, like.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll back down. He won't fucking back down. He'll get his 5-iron and fucking smash you when you're asleep. Yeah, so he sounded pretty horrible, right, frankly, didn't it? Like, but Morten Gams Pedersen, pretty boy, Norwegian. I mean, who picks on Scandinavians? You should pick on a Scandinavian. Look at that.
Well, Reese as well. He's got a real thing with the Norwegians.
Yeah, apparently he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I can't really see why he wants to leave Birmingham, really. And then he makes the whole pig's ear about it, like saying, oh, Blackburn's closer to his sick family. I mean, don't cite your sick family when you're saying you want to leave the club, kind of, that's just a dumb thing to do.
So does Stephen Ireland book of tricks. Don't you think, and it's not unique to Savage, that him leaving, in his eyes, like this is a devastating moment for Birmingham fans who continue to harass him out of the sheer devastation of his departure when, obviously they're just having a laugh. But to him, that's, I think, what that is,
Well, that's it. And the one greedy bastard chant he gets seems to really cut him. I just think it's like, oh, mate, like, there's lots of worse things they could call you accurately. So after Blackburn, and, there's literally nothing interesting about Blackburn. Nothing. There's a Beatles song, and it was that fucking title in '95, and that's the interesting things about Blackburn.
A Day in the Life is the Beatles song. Yeah, okay.
One of the better ones. I love that song. I really do.
They finished 6th.
Yeah, finished 6th, played in Europe.
Yeah, like that I've forgotten that. My mind didn't retain that juicy, important piece of information. Well, I totally forgot about it. No. Yeah,
and this is what Robbie Savage can use that to justify his move. Like, this is what I came to a team like Blackburn for, European football. Yeah, because they're just, a team like Blackburn, you're going to get those big nights.
He does kind of agitate to leave a few teams. Leicester, Birmingham, all of them really, right?
Yeah, they're all his decision.
Yeah.
They're all his decision, but he doesn't seem to like the approbation he gets for that.
Yeah, so he goes off to Derby and he's playing under Paul Jewell.
Well, I thought with Paul Jewell and the Derby management, I was going to get my sex. But still, there's no mention of a Paul Jewell video at any point, which is an absolute tragedy. I can't believe that got left out, knowing Savage's character. And what happened to him.
Tell me more. What happened? I don't remember that.
Of a Paul Jewell. Oh, there's a sex tape, Paul Jewell.
With Paul Jewell in it?
Yep. It's a Paul Jewell sex tape, and he doesn't come out of it looking very well. He doesn't come out of it looking well.
What's it called? The Jewel in the Crown or whatever?
I don't think so. So Paul Jewell leaves him out the Derby team, gets annoyed at him, and this sends Savage into severe depression. He said he wasn't eating, like weight was falling off him, he didn't wash his hair.
Self-harm. He considers self-harm.
I wonder what he thinks he means by that. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, it was headbutting a wall, wasn't it? Like, he nearly headbutted a wall. Okay. I guess that is self-harm. It's not what I picture when someone says self-harm. Not that self-harm's funny, but self-harm is the worst thing, right? In a movie, if someone's hurting themselves, I cannot watch it. I cannot watch that.
Could you watch Robbie Savage headbutting a wall?
Yeah, I could watch that. I'd like to watch it. I watched The Situation in Jersey Shore headbutt a wall, and I got a real kick out of it.
I didn't understand anything in that sentence.
No. I'm just trying to think of a high-profile person who I've seen headbutt a wall, and you're familiar with the show Jersey Shore.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a character in that show called The Situation. That's his name. And he I think he was very, very, very addicted to painkillers at the time. But he headbutted a wall in Italy in a rage, and it made for great TV, Johnny. I've got to tell you, it made for great TV. He then had to go to the hospital and look like the biggest fucking idiot you've ever seen in your life. So yeah, it's a miserable time at Derby under Paul Jewell. He gets to a point where he's just rooting for them to lose because there's no future in him at Derby as well. Paul Jewell remains.
The chairman says to him at some point, "Can you get in touch with that and Deck and see if they'll put you on? I'm a celebrity, get me out there," which maybe is similar to Jersey Shore, I guess. But
I tell you what, Johnny, Robbie Savage turns his nose up that I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. Robbie Savage says, "I'd do anything, but I won't do that." I think that reflects pretty fucking badly on every other contestant who's ever been on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, because Robbie Savage said no.
Yeah, so that thing with Jewel went on for quite a while. He was training with the kids. He was not allowed to do anything, and he didn't really understand. It seems to have caused him a lot of confusion and obviously a lot of pain. But he just genuinely didn't understand what was up. He was kind of critical. He played for Derby when they were really bad. You said 11 points, right? And they got relegated. But by the time he signed, they were already being relegated. And he tried to improve the camaraderie and that kind of thing. And he was made captain. But he just kind of rubbed Jewel up the wrong way with his carry on, saying Jewel looked like various cartoon characters that he doesn't mention. And then Jewel just kind of isolated him.
Yeah, who did you think that cartoon character was? Must have been Homer Simpson. I just think it was Homer Simpson.
Yeah, I wonder how some of the banter in the book is pretty lame. So yeah, it was probably.
You look like Homer Simpson, out of order. Your Madison reserves. We don't know it's Homer Simpson, but how bad can it be? I mean, an animated character. Who can you like it to? It's like, that is for last straw. that is, I can't, no. Yeah, but he really, really did have a miserable time at Derby. Yeah, was very, very depressed. Went to Brighton on loan when Brighton weren't who Brighton are now.
Yeah.
Talked about, there was just one moment there where he'd been out clubbing and he went to Buddy's restaurant for a 4 a.m. fry-up and everyone in the club was singing his name.
Of course.
Well, I've been to that Buddy's for a 4 a.m. fry-up.
And?
Robbie Savage wasn't there. But a French fellow student was there, and I just remember going, "Oh my God, the grease. Oh God, it's the grease. Fucking get it down, you son, you pussy."
Anyway, Jewel was eventually sacked, and Nigel Clough came in, and he loved Nigel Clough. So that's it, really. He finishes at Derby, then he gets into media. Is that it?
Yep. He's excited about his new career in media. He's not sure where it's going to take him. He certainly has a lot of work.
I tell you what, I watched the next video, which maybe you've seen on YouTube, which is him commentating when his son Charlie came on for his debut for Manchester United. It's quite nice.
All right. Well, we've all got our homework to do. I'll go and watch that, and you can go and watch a Paul Jewell sex tape.
It's a jewel in the crown.
I don't know who I'm more jealous of.
Family Jewels.
That's better.
Yeah. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, how many fake teeth? How many wigged vibrators?
I want to call it a burned hooter. I will get after a local man who worked in charity forced his nose into a hot jacket potato. I wrote it down here. It's one of those sentences you'll never hear again. Like I wrote it down. Here is it. I'm still not forgiving him for forcing my hooter into a burning hot spud. So I'm going to give this book 3.5 burnt hooters out of 10. No, out of 5 burnt. 3.5 burnt hooters out of 10. That's too
3.5 burnt.
Yeah, 7 out of 10. It's a nice book. I really did enjoy reading it, Johnny. I did.
I will give it a 3. I'll give it 3 burnt hooters. Burnt hooter sounds like a German footballer.
Yeah, it's a nice book. I mean, if you've any interested in Robbie Savage, you'd probably get a kick out of it. If you sport Birmingham or Leicester, you'd probably get a kick out of it. Sport United, you'd probably get a kick out of it. Sport Derby, not so much.
And just don't judge him until you've read the book.
Yeah, don't judge him. Don't judge him.
I feel like we can judge him now.
And if you still think he's a dickhead then fine.
Yeah.
But just meet me first. Meet me first. Meet me first before you call me a dickhead. No. No, I'm not going to, Robbie. You're a dickhead. But quite a nice dickhead in his own way.
Yeah. I can imagine. I'd say
I don't want to see him on TV. I don't want to see him doing punditry. I don't want to hear him on 606. I don't.
Yeah,
you know,
I'd say
he's like a Soccer AM kind of guy. Have him on Soccer AM with Jimmy Bullard. That's fine. You two dicking around. That's all right.
I can imagine his company in a group would be quite grating, but maybe in a one-on-one situation he'd be fine.
Yes, he's okay. Robbie Savage, he's all right.
Robbie Savage is all right. Okay.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. Join us for the next episode in 2 weeks, where we're going to be reading The Boleyn Boy by Mark Noble.
Yes. Thank you very much, everyone. Follow us on the socials, and episode 17 coming up. Yeah. Thanks, Al.
17, baby.